Vue is a component-based view layer for web applications. You're actually going to look at this list, and if you know anything about React, you'll be like, oh yeah, React, oh yeah, React, oh yeah, React, oh yeah, React. They're very similar. So if you know React, you know a lot of the basics for Vue. Where it's really going to be different is kind of under the hood, how they handle different situations. Like React, Vue implements a virtual DOM. Is there anybody that has not heard of or doesn't quite understand virtual DOM? Don't be shy. It's all right. We're here to help. Okay, cool. So implements virtual DOM. They do it in a really great, fantastic way. Vue has an unobtrusive reactivity system. And on the JavaScript Jabber podcast, Dave Smith, they had the creator of Vue, his name's Evan Yu, they had him on as a guest. And Dave Smith is one of the panelists, and he's asking him about different implementations of Vue and how it was built and implemented. And as Evan Yu was going over the reactivity system, it made Dave Smith go, wow, that's really cool. This was like almost 2 years ago. It's what got me excited about Vue. When Dave Smith stops a guest and says, whoa, that's awesome. It's like, you take note. You're like, okay, what is this? I have to learn this. So it's really cool. We're actually, right at the beginning, we're going to see how this works, and it's really awesome. Vue, you can use, they have official routers and Redux-like data or state managers. You can use those with add-ons, but you don't necessarily have to. They're optional. So you can keep Vue as slim and as small as you want, or you can have a few extra add-ons to help out with that kind of stuff. Mix-ins, I believe React does have mix-ins, right? Is that right? Kind of. Yeah. Vue mix-ins are kind of like more like Ember mix-ins for reusable functionality. So if you notice you're doing something over and over and over again, writing the same function in different components over and over and over again, you can actually just write that as a mix-in and import it into your component, and it runs that functionality. Server-side rendering, Vue has server-side rendering. Right now there's a couple projects that are close to release for native apps. So really soon you'll be able to use Vue syntax, Vue files in a native application, which is super awesome. Cool, any questions? That's like a super high level overview. Okay, so as with every JavaScript framework / library that comes out, you have to ask yourself, why should I use this? Right, there's so many out there. So this is from the vue.js.org website. They did some testing on some benchmark testing against React, and as you can see, it's sometimes it's 2 to 3 times faster as far as performance than React has been, and that's when you're rendering 10,000 list items 100 times. These are the speeds that Vue and React get. Part of this is the virtual DOM implementation that Vue has under the hood. Yeah, the website really goes into how that works. We probably won't today. Another really good the biggest reason I've heard from developers for using Vue is just the development process. So you look at this and you're like, I mean, 223 milliseconds for 63, who cares, right? In the browsers that we have nowadays, your users aren't going to notice a difference. So the biggest reason I've heard from people lately on why they use Vue is the development experience itself. With the Vue loader, with using .vue files, you guys can attest it's awesome. Love .vue. It's just simple, and it just makes sense, and you guys will see that today. Simple tooling. You actually don't need just to start off with the project, you'll see tonight, you don't need Webpack, you don't need all these different things. Just to put some Vue on a page and get it going. Easy to learn and easy to get going with. So for those of you who have tried out Vue a little bit, you already know this, but everybody's going to see this tonight, just how easy it is to start writing in Vue with Vue. The Vue core team. So Vue kind of is the David and the David versus Goliath scenario, where you've got these Goliath companies, Google, Facebook, supporting some major frameworks and libraries that Vue is competing against. Vue was started by Evan You. He was the only maintainer for a long time while he was working with the Meteor core team. Right now he's got a full team to help maintain and support Vue. They've got some good sponsorship. They're at like $8,000 a month from corporate sponsorships. Not quite what Facebook or Google have backing them, but despite that, they are rarely leave issues on GitHub very long. Right now, I think there's about 55 issues on GitHub versus Angular, not AngularJS, Angular's 1,200 issues. So Evan You has been just fantastic. Everybody's been blown away by how he has maintained the project and the base code. Does a really fantastic job. When he was on JavaScript Jabber 2 years ago, there was 11 reproducible bugs in the Vue issues at that time, which is outstanding, which is really cool. Bottom line on why I use vue.js, I stole this from DevMountain Slack. Basically, everyone's got their own opinions. Everyone develops a little bit differently. Everybody has their own style, enjoys different things in their development process. So it really just depends on what you like. If you really like React and you feel like that is the best experience for you, I'm never going to argue against that and tell you that you need to switch to Vue. I really love Vue. I'm actually starting a new job on Monday, writing in React. So this will be my first full-time React position. So we'll see how I like that versus Vue, and I'll give you guys a report in a few weeks. But yeah, basically it's just kind of depends on what your style is. Okay, you guys ready? Yeah, awesome. Hopefully everybody has NPM or Yarn. We need Node version 6. If you don't have that, get it going really quick. But yeah, let's start a project up. We call this the marijuana Mountain Dew, but this stuff is fantastic. Yes. Sorry, that's probably bad. I'm being recorded. Nobody show my wife. Okay, so go ahead and open up your terminal. Let's zoom in a bunch here. Okay. Sorry, still at so what I want you to do is actually let's start a new project. Oh, there was one thing I was going to do before we jump into this. So first, go back to your browser, go to vue.js, vue.org. And click on Guide at the top, or Introduction. This will show you how easy it is to get started and get going in a Vue project. So we're just going to go through some of this because it's actually really cool, really interactive, and you can start to see already just by reading their guide a lot about Vue. So getting started, first he talks about declarative rendering. This may look familiar to you. There's quite a few technologies that use kind of the double mustache brackets. So this right here is how you start a Vue app. So you've got a variable called app. Is this big enough? You guys all have it on the computer, huh? Is that good, or should I zoom in? Okay, okay, cool. You just instantiate a new Vue object, and you pass in an object, just as it shows here. And stop. Okay. That's it. To get going, you just include the source tag here and drop that in the CDN, and then instantiate a new Vue app. That's how easy it is to start a Vue project. And as you can see, so let's look at what this is doing. We've got, in our HTML, we've got a div up here with the ID of app. I'll go zoom in a little bit. And that's what this element is referring to. So when you instantiate a new Vue project, you have to have the element property in this object that you're passing in. And that's going to tell the Vue app where to drop your Vue components. So this is going to drop this Vue app application here inside this div. Then we've got a property called data, which is exactly what it sounds like. This is kind of the model of your application. It's not the only place you can name and store data. We'll go through some of those a little bit later. But this is one of the main places that you have your models here. So you've got your data model, you've got a property called message, and it's being brought into the DOM here through this binding, and you can see right here that it kicks out hello Vue. So now let's take a look at the reactive nature of Vue. I want you to open up your developer tools, and I'll drop this down here. Okay, so we've got our app is under the variable name app. So I want you to do, I'll scroll back up here, app.message. You can see it's previewed there. And type in give it a new string. Boom. So cool. You can do it again if you want to. Yeah. Yes. So this is actually this is the Vue application and you're able to. You mean the reactive part? Yeah. So they're like yeah. Yes. It is an observable, and there are watchers on message here. So this is kind of the cool reactive part that Dave Smith is like, whoa, that's awesome. Basically, who's familiar with React? Raise your hand if you're familiar with React a little bit. About half of you guys. There's I believe it's a lifecycle hook in React that says should component update. Is that right? Is that the right method? That you have to implement if you don't want your whole DOM tree checked when there's a change. Vue, when it's working with its virtual DOM, it puts watchers on all of these properties, but it does it in a smart way that you don't have to implement something like should component update. So when app.message updates, it's going to search the DOM tree, and it's going to say, okay, app.message is here, and I'm going to update that part of the DOM tree. And it does it reactively when the data changes. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Does that kind of make sense? So that's what's really cool with when you compare Vue versus React, is that's all built in to Vue. React, you have to do some more programming to enable that kind of functionality. Okay, let's keep going. Superly duperly cool. We're going to go through this introduction. We're going to see a lot of the binding syntax that Vue has. Whoa, that is not what I was trying to do. So vbind is a directive in Vue that lets you bind properties on HTML elements with some data in your JavaScript. Okay, so you've got a property here, title, on this span. So title, what title does is if you hover over this span, it'll show the little tooltip. Thank you. So if you hover over it here, then you see the tooltip pop up. That's what title does. So vbind basically lets you bind what data that you have in your application. Oh, geez, again. There we go. Okay, lets you bind data you have in your application onto properties that you have in your HTML. So hover your mouse over me for a few seconds to see my dynamically bound title. So the title is bound to message, right? So you look down in your application, app 2, the new Vue app. Message is one of the data properties in your data model. And you go to this page, so you go to this page on new day, you go to your JavaScript page. So that when you hover over it, you see you've loaded this message on Thursday, April 27th, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. And it actually, I don't know if this updates I think it's just when the page actually loaded that it updates. So if you refresh your page, you'll see a new time on there. So go ahead and bring up your console again and go app2.message equals new tooltip. So now when I hover over, boom, new tooltip. Yes. Yeah. And what's cool about it is you don't have to use like the brackets inside here. You just still give it message and it knows to go find data.message. There is, I think he talks about this next, there's some syntactical sugar. I've always wanted to say that in the talk. Life goal accomplished. Let's see. Where you can actually, this can get really verbose, vbind : attribute. The sugar is you can take away vbind and just do : title. And that's way easier. Title, I don't know, we'll see a bunch more. Whatever else there is. Image, if you're trying to bind to a string for an image, dynamically loaded image, something like that. Cool. So that's binding. Let's look at conditionals and loops. It was really funny at this point, as Evan was talking on JavaScript Jabber, Dave Smith piped up and said, so I was looking through Vue, and it basically looked like you can find v dash anywhere in your application and replace it with ng dash, and it like would work. So you can take your Angular application, replace ng with v, and it would work. And like, yeah, it was heavily inspired by Angular, heavily inspired by React. So it's kind of funny. So if you've used Angular before, this will look really similar. Okay, so we've got v-if. Basically, if this expression inside here evaluates to true, it will write this element to the DOM. If it evaluates to false, it will remove that element from the DOM. So scene down here, data.scene equals true. And here's the app. Go ahead and do app3.scene equals false. And now it's gone. Do that again and write true, and now it's back. You can do app3.scene equals this equals that, and it'll evaluate to false and hide what's in the DOM. vf, pretty simple. App4, looping through an array and writing what you have in the array to the DOM. So here's our array of to-dos. We have to learn JavaScript, learn Vue, build something awesome. It's used in an ordered list items, use v-4, and then to-do and the one thing that Evan, you tried really hard to do when writing Vue was just make it extremely readable. If you're using Angular 2, Angular 4, Angular right now, you're used to seeing ng4, like star ng4, right? ng4 equals let to do in to do's. So it's not as readable. We won't get into JSX because I haven't used JSX a lot. I'm trying to get excited for JSX. Let me just say that. Don't get your pitchforks out, please. So really readable, v4 to do and to do's, and then use your to do .text in your mustache brackets here. So here's our list of to do's. In your console, we're in app4. Go app4 dot to do's. Okay, I'm going to do it. Dot push. Nobody get mad. And write a new object with text. Use pure functions. And then scroll down. Boom. Use pure functions. There is an implementation for RxJS. Now that I showed that example, you can implement RxJS in a Vue app. This Vue wasn't necessarily written to be immutable. In fact, in its Redux flow, called the implementation called VueX, there's a whole section called mutations that if you're using VueX, actually the rest of your app has to use immutables, and then you've got a whole section for any mutation you want to make to the data within that, and that's going to be covered in 2 weeks in lecture 2. Okay, you guys seen how easy this is? Super cool, super easy to get started. Are there any questions so far? It's all pretty simple. Awesome, awesome. There's our dot push. Okay, so we've covered binding, just use a colon. We've covered conditionals, loops. This is for user inputs and events. We use the directive v-on and then colon click. And when this button is clicked, it runs this function. So we're going to introduce now a new property on the view object. That property is, hey, that's an intuitive name, methods. Again, Evan, you just really wanted to make this as simple as possible and called methods property methods. Awesome. Okay, so let's look at this one. So you've got your HTML up here, displaying a message in text. That message is hello view. Then the button is going to be clicked and run reverse message method. So reverse message basically reverses the message. Boom, reverse message. Again, you can change message in your DevTools. This is app 5. Don't do something like this because then you'll never know if it's actually working. Just kidding. I planned that joke. It's so good. See, you can tell. Oh, you go away. I did a whole bunch. Yeah. Okay, we can move on from that one. Yeah. Yes, v-on is a directive. When you see the v dash something, just like Angular, it's a directive. Yes, yeah, you can do custom directives. Yep. You guys will have to help me out because I'm not remembering. Yes, thank you. The shorthand for v-on is an @ symbol. So don't try colon click. Yeah, add input, add click. Don't try colon click. I did that the other day. I was like, why isn't this working? Button. So v-on shorthand is @ v-model for inputs gives you two-way binding. It's a directive that gives you two-way binding. You can change, if you scroll down here and change what's in this. You can see it's updating on both ends. You can even come down here, do app6.message. Oh, I think I'm too low. And it tells you it's now hiding. So v-model, two-way binding. Cool. So that's kind of the basic syntax, binding, loops, conditionals, two-way binding, all of that. Any questions? Okay, good. Hopefully you guys aren't super bored. I know this is like really low level, simple stuff. He wrote it so it's so simple that you get bored when people talk about it. I know. Cool. So now let's talk a little bit about the component structure of, actually, no, we're gonna jump into just building out a project. Sound good? So now open your terminals. We're still in a new project. We're going to, every example you saw on the vue.js introduction page is the easiest way to throw a Vue app into your project. Just instantiate it, make sure you have the CDN, instantiate it with new view, pass in an object with an element, and probably some data property. Super easy to start. We're gonna look now at the Vue CLI to see how to structure, like if you want a whole project, if you want to start building a full project with vue.js. So yarn add vue CLI -g. So the CLI, lets us instantiate a whole Vue project just with one command. So instead of going through and writing all your boilerplate code, this will do it for us. So it's just the easiest way to get a project up and running. And I'm gonna have to look that up unless you guys know the CLI command for new. Probably just, yeah. Vue Webpack. It installs Webpack so we can use vue-router, which gives us the ability to use .vue files. And then new project inside. So this is going to make another file called new project inside my new project file. So new project, project name, yes, yes, yes. Say yes for installing vue-router because we're going to use that. If you want linting, I currently am using standard. On my new job, it's going to be Airbnb, and that is a crazy switch. If you've ever gone back and forth, it's hard. Not going to worry. You can set up tests just to look at them. We're not going to go over testing today. Okay, cool. Anybody have issues with that process? Y'all get to do that okay? Cool. Go ahead and open that inside your editor of choice. Okay, cool. At this point, you want to cd into that new project directory and yarn install. Node modules got them up. Awesome. First thing, let's do the Vue CLI built out this application for us. You can actually now go in here, do yarn, run dev, I believe. Cool, there it is. Got a Vue app up and going. Awesome. Let's just take a look around our project real quick. Let me open up the right one. So your source code is going to be in source. Let's start with our main.js. This is where we instantiate our Vue project. We give it this element property. Unless you're going to have a separate Vue.js application in your project, this is the only place that you need to do this. What's really cool with what I like about Vue versus, so at my current job, we switched from Angular 2, which we started in Dart, we switched to TypeScript, and then a month after that, we switched to Vue. What I really like about Vue versus Angular projects is, in an Angular project, this is where you'd have to come and register all of your components. Vue, you actually don't have to do that. We'll see that in a little bit. Let's look at what we're importing. From Vue, we're importing our app from this app.vue file, which we'll look at in a second, and we're importing our router. So yeah, basically we've got a template. We're grabbing, we're injecting this into ID app, which is in the index.html, ID app. So that's basically main.js right there. Now let's look at app.vue. And this is our first look at an actual .vue file. And this is where I have completely learned to love the development process with vue.js. Because it's, we're using a template tag for our HTML, and then you write HTML there. Use a script tag for any of your logic, for any of your JavaScript. I like to do that. And then we're using style tags for our CSS. So I'm a big proponent of one file for everything. Some people like to separate out those concerns. I think that's kind of a battle going on in the front-end world right now. I like it this way. And the way Vue implements it, super easy to read and understand and reason about what's happening with this. If you know JavaScript, CSS, HTML fundamentals, you can start in a .vue file, super easy. One thing to note is you can only have, in your template, you can only have one element on this first level inside your template. So we can't have app there, drop down here, and do another here. Right? In your template, you have to have one element on the DOM inside that tag. So who's listening when we did the walk through the introduction and could tell us a way to make this actually work? It's a test. This is your quiz to see if you pass or fail in my lecture. So you can only have one element on the DOM inside your template. So how can we make this work? We can only have one element into the DOM at this level inside our template tag. So what can we do to make this work? Yes, you could wrap a parent one. I'm talking about without wrapping the parent one, it's leaving these two divs at the same level. This is, you're looking like, why did you ask a question like that? Think about a view directive that we learned that could take elements out of the DOM. Yeah, if and else. So, sorry, that was probably a bad question. Bad testing. But I asked it because I want to show you the else and else ifs. The if true. With Vue, they do have VueX, a VueX directive. So if this evaluates to false, it'll jump down and it'll render this instead. So if we did false, flash, then it would render this div. If we had a third one, then we can use else if, and then VLs here. So that's kind of cool. I think Angular 4 introduced the same directives, yeah. It does, but it only writes, when it hits true in one of these, it will only write that one. Yes, but if this one was evaluated to true, and then this one evaluates to true, then it'll throw an error. Okay. So like if you did this, if it's on this level, yes. If it's deeper into the HTML, then yeah. Yeah, so this would throw an error here because now you've got two divs on the same level there. But this would work here if we change this to true. Just like an if statement, it would come here, then the divs, and then okay, cool. Go ahead and erase all of that. You guys all failed your quiz. So pay attention a little better. Just kidding. Okay, so we've got this component. We haven't seen the code for this yet. That is actually inside, our components folder. Go ahead and open up that. So hello.vue. And I'm going to just bring this down a little bit. Okay, so we've got, again, you've got a template tag, straight HTML, everything that you see inside here. We've got a data. Now this is a little bit different than how we saw inside the Vue guide at vue.js.org. This is actually a function that's returning an object. And when you're using Vue templates, so .vue files, this is how you can use the data file. This probably becomes a function. There's something important about that. Let's see, I think it was that we can't use arrow functions inside this. So don't do that. Is that right? Did I write that right? What's that? Okay, thank you. Can't do this. I don't remember what I was just reading about the other day. So instead, we're just going to use the shorthand without the arrow, like that. Look it up on vue.js. That's your homework. Quiz and a homework. You've never had that at a meetup before. Bam. Just kidding. Oh, another really cool thing that I love about vue.js is with your styles, you can add this scope attribute to scope your CSS. Awesome. So if you don't want H1s, the H1 style from here affecting any other Vue components, then just throw the scoped attribute onto the style tag. Yes, you do have to have the style inside of the view. So this is the use case for this. The way we implemented it work is all of our components have scope styling, and anything that is used multiple times in different components, we have a different CSS file for that, like the main CSS file for that. So, yeah, scope styling. Yay. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't thought about it. Because there's actually been a couple times that it wasn't scope, that I forget about it, and you're writing up styles thinking scope, and then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, you go to another component like, why are those files? Oh, yeah, because it's not scope. But yeah, I'm sure there's a way to look at that. The linting, I know, works with the JavaScript everything inside the script tag. Really good question. I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to bring that to the next one. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so these properties, or these CSS rules are only going to apply to what's inside the template tag up here. So if you have another template with H1 tags in it that you want a different color, if you scope that style, it won't affect this H1. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it keeps it. It does not pass to children. Yes. Thank you. So I was answering the question just the wrong way. So if I drop another Vue component in here that has H1 tags, properties won't be applied to that child. Cool. So you can see we've got the message here. Welcome to your Vue.js app. Yay. Oh, one thing to note: if you're using the Vue CLI, or if you set it up, this has hot module reloading like React does. So that's really cool. And who has used Redux before? Who's used React and Redux with the awesome Redux time travel tools? You can download the Vue extension, and if you're using VueX, you get the same implementation there. We were using, like I said before, we were using Angular 2 with TypeScript, and we were using NGRX and NGRX store, and which you can use the Redux tools for, but it actually, we were having some really bad performance issues with it. So Vue does a really good job with this tool. React, obviously React did it amazing, and the React Redux tool is really cool. Probably better than the Vue one, but Angular and NGRX store, trying to use the Redux, for some reason it just really struggled. Okay, cool. So now let's write some more code. Do you guys want to take a quick break real fast? Get some blood pumping, eat some more pizza? Okay, let's take a 6-minute break, and then we'll actually start typing and do cool stuff. So let's write, let's see if there's anything else. Assets is just the logo. Router, we can look at the router. Actually, we'll look at that in a minute here. Let's build a new component. And we'll call this, so new file. That one's hello.vue. Convention is components are capitalized. I'm just going to do home.vue. Can't think of anything more cool. Awesome. So we're going to start with the template tag. Below that, we'll do a script tag. And below that, a style tag. I get confused sometimes and do styles. It takes me a minute to figure out why it's not working. What is the error on there? That's just linting. Okay, so inside our template, let's do an H1. Gonna have some HTML inside here. Yay. Yeah. All right, to start the view, sorry, is that hard to see? You want me to zoom in? Is it the colors? Should I change the colors? Okay. Is that a little bit better? What's that? I don't know if that does get bigger. Sorry. Okay. So to start a new component, I'm just going to export defaults. and a object. One thing that each component needs is a name. Call this hello or home. And that's it. That's all you need to do for your name. If this was, if it was like home 2 or something, you would do -2 in here, and the file name would be camel case. Does that make sense? And then this is what the element that you drop into your HTML. This is the element you would drop in there. This is the name of the element. So if we were back in hello, we could drop that in like this. Home 2 with the correct spelling, and then as our component there. Okay, back to home. Okay, so let's set this up in a different route. I've got my cheat sheets. So go to your index.js, your router, and we're importing vue-router from vue-router and our hello component. So we're going to need to import our home component from, so when you do the @ up here, it just references the root of your project. You don't need to do .. / and then go all the way in. It's yelling at me because I haven't used it yet. Unused. That's a standard linting thing. So we're just going to drop a new object into our routes array. And we'll just kind of copy what we see above. This will be /home for the path. The name is going to be, this is the name of the component for when we want to route to it, if that makes sense. And then the component, so this is the name of the route. This is the name of the component which we named up here in our import statement. Like that. So if we had this home 2, this would have to match home 2 down here. Cool, so now we've got a new route. So make sure you save your files, Dustin. Awesome. And then in your URL, just type in home. Boom. Some HTML here. Yeah. Awesome. You now have routes. Let's make this a little bit, let's jump back into our home.vue app, make this a little bit more dynamic. So we're going to use our data function again. And remember, it returns an object. And we're going to say exclamations, exclamation, salute. Zach yelled at me today already for my exorbitant use of exclamation points. It's just who I am, man. It's what I do. And then up here, what are we going to put? Yeah, exclamation inside our curly braces. Exclamations, exclamation. Save that, go back. Didn't work. Did I spell it wrong? Exclamation. What's it saying? Unresolved variable. Looks good to me. Anybody see anything I'm doing wrong? On the data, yes. Yeah, because it's a function. 1, 2, that doesn't matter. Maybe I hadn't saved it. There we go. I don't think I'd saved the file. Sweet. Cool. Because I know this is just like a learning thing and whatnot, I still like to make stuff look good. So I'm going to jump into here and yarn add vue-bootstrap or bootstrap-vue. Bootstrap-vue. So actually, if you guys want to do this too, I can show you how to add new project or new packages into your Vue app. Okay, Yarn, don't let me down. Sweet. So you go to, go to your app.vue page. Oh, sorry, your main.js page. This is where we're going to import and make available to our entire project that Bootstrap Vue. So I'm going to import, drop a line, just keep it clean. Bootstrap Vue from Bootstrap Vue -dist bootstrap vue.esn. You'll notice that you don't have to put .js. This is a Vue. This app one is a Vue file. You don't have to do .vue. It does the extensions for you. Then down below that, we're going to do vue.use, and we'll pass in Bootstrap Vue. Now we've got the Bootstrap Vue package available in your project. Yeah. Great question. Don't know. You guys know? Dependency injection or middleware? What is? Actually, I've never looked at what vue.use is doing. So, vue.use has so dependency injection then? Not quite. Look it up, Jacob, and stop asking hard questions. I'm just kidding. Tell us when you find out, though. Nice. I need to do better. I haven't looked up vue.use yet. Okay, we'll jump back to our home.vue. And I'm going to add a button. Give it some change exclamation. I don't know if that helps you see. So what's going to be the problem? It's going to yell at me for doing this. I'm going to see the error before I move on. Yeah. One root element inside that template. Whoa. Dang it, it did not work. That's a gotcha until you get used to it. Okay, cool. Some HTML in here, a button. Let's see if our button is showing up. Everything saved. Cool. Change explanation. It doesn't have. Did I do my button classes wrong? Button. No, I don't think so. Should just class. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Let's make this button actually work. So who remembers the shortcut for the on click? Cheater, you're the mentor. You can't answer. Was Rudy going to say at? He's got it. To keep it really readable, I'm just going to drop these down here. At click. Okay, then we're going to, let's make sure it's inside the, there we go. Okay, so now we're going to run a function, change exclamation. Cool. If you have something to pass in, you can. Otherwise, it passes in the event. It's yelling at me because this is an unresolved variable. So where do we put our functions inside our view object? There's a new property that we're going to have. Who remembers what it's called? Not U3. Method. Methods, actually. This one is just a straight up object. And we need change exclamations. Rename it exclamation. Okay. So we're gonna need to change up our data model a little bit too, because we're trying to switch this out between different exclamations. So let's just make exclamation an empty string, and we'll make a new data property called exclamations. Oh, need the it's returning an object, so we need that, and this will be an array. So we'll have sweet, awesome, amazing. Let's do a string. And of course, add some of these. Cool. Okay, so inside our change exclamation, we're going to assign exclamation just a random exclamation from our exclamations array. So what we're going to do is this dot exclamation. So if we want inside your template up here, this is implied, and you don't need to use this dot exclamation. Inside, like your methods, I think the only one I found that you don't need this inside is the watch property, which is kind of like a dirty checker, much better implemented dirty checker, like Angular's dirty checker. Okay, this dot exclamation equals, and then let's run another function. This dot exclamations at this dot get random number. Okay, pretty easy. Hopefully everybody kind of gets where I'm going with this. I don't do enough math with JavaScript, so I have my cheat sheet here. Get random num. Okay. Is a function, and we're going to let num equal math dot floor math dot random times this dot exclamations dot length. Do you guys feel good with the JavaScript? Anybody need to go over that at all? Totally fine if you do, let me know. Okay, pretty simple stuff. Let me close this so we can see. All right, so we're going to push this button. It's going to run change exclamation, which is going to assign this auto exclamation to one of these three exclamations. Sorry, we'll not do that. Just return this. Save that. Jump to here. Don't have anything yet because it gets instantiated as an empty string. But as you change it, sometimes it lands on the same one multiple times. Am I missing one? Do I have to do like a +1 on the random? Anyways, so cool. You guys see that working? Awesome. So what if, let's just suppose that you refresh your page and you want something there. This is where view lifecycle hooks come in. There is a lifecycle hook called, and lifecycle hooks are just another property on the main object. So this one is called mounted, and it is a function. So when the component gets mounted, this is before it writes to the DOM. We're going to say run this dot change exclamation. So now when we refresh the page, before it gets written to the DOM, it's going to run that function and assign the exclamation. We're going to pause there and actually look at the lifecycle hooks that Vue has. Okay, so here's the diagram for it. Is that too hard to see? One more up. So new Vue, the Vue app is created. Lifecycle hooks are these ones in the red. So this is the whole lifecycle diagram of a Vue component. Yep, before create and created. And then I believe this is for the app as a whole, not for components. Goes through a couple different things, has L options. If not, then that's when mount is called. If it does, it looks at the template option. So you can separate the template into a different file. It'll check for that here. Has template option. If it does, compiles a template into the render function. If it doesn't, then it moves on. Okay, there's before mount, which is before your component gets created and replaces in the virtual DOM, replaces that app or the element. And then after it's mounted, after that's happened, this is where you'll do a lot of these pre-functionality things like we just did. Then, so it gets mounted, then this is when the component's live, it's now written to the DOM, and this is where the change detection starts happening as the component is still living. So these are kind of the main lifecycle hooks we'll use: mounted, before update, updated, and before destroyed. So if you've used, obviously React has a lot of this, Angular now has lifecycle hooks and everything. Hopefully this looks pretty familiar, and you can kind of see what each is doing there. For our particular implementation, we do have let me close all these. So we've got okay, so we've got before destroy, before mount. This is where you'll do subscriptions if you want to subscribe to anything within your VueX store. This one is subscribing to when adding a document is completed. So for this component is a modal that comes up. Oh, and this is, let me backtrack. Okay, I'll tell you that in a second. I won't backtrack. So a modal comes up to add a document for this particular company in our application. When you fill out the information, upload your document, and push add, then it kicks off the add document action. And the add document action will make a request to the web service and send the information to send that document to the database. When that comes back, and if it's 200 A-OK, then it kicks off the action add document complete. So this is watching for just a simple switch case on add document complete. And actually, next week we're going to do all VueX action mutations, all of that. This is actually a mutation, not an action. So when this fires, then it's going to hide the modal. If you delete the document instead, the reason I brought this up is you probably faced this before, but with any subscription that you make, you also want to unsubscribe from that subscription. So before the component is destroyed, then that's not unsubscribing. I need to fix that. But you unsubscribe. I think that's why. I think that's where my bug's coming from. I think I just found it. Cool. Yay. This needs to be unsubscribed. Anyway, so just a preview real quick for next week. Cool. Oh, and what I was going to talk about before I stop talking about it. This component is in a modal, right? And the reason we're using Bootstrap Vue in our project is it has a really cool kind of dynamic modal component that you can tie into. With this here, bmodal. And this could just be add, maybe. So yeah, this part here, the root.emit hide modal is all built into the Bootstrap. So Bootstrap Vue is actually really cool, has some good stuff like this. I recommend it if you like Bootstrap. Awesome. Let's see. Go back to our project. Yeah, that's kind of everything I wanted to cover. One thing you'll see next week is computed properties, which basically you can take properties off of your data model and put it into computed. And this you can actually, let's see, let me see if I'm remembering the syntax. You can do getters and setters here. Which really helps with your data management and really to really implement the power of the reactivity of Vue. This you'll use a lot when you're using VueX. It will help you to send off changes that you need to make, data that needs to be changed, to the VueX store rather than mutating it inside your component. So, and then when it gets set, you can, on the set, you can update your exclamation here. Cool. Any questions? You guys excited for Vue? Awesome. Well, thank you. Come next week, or in 2 weeks, because you'll see a lot more like actual applicable stuff. Thanks.